Hello, everybody. Assuming you're all here. Okay. So, all right. That'd be How are we all doing today? Enjoying the lockdown? Uh, ooh, what's the Switch game? Pokemon will keep you busy. That reminds me that I need to finish off the shoot, what's that Zelda crossover with the rhythm game? Shoot. The Crypt of the Necrodancer. What is that? Cadence of Hyrule. There we go. Okay. Am I streaming Doom Eternal? If I had my good laptop, I would consider streaming Doom Eternal if I had owned it, but mine I probably won't. Still, I still have to play Doom 2016. I haven't even gotten to that one yet. Although that one was supposed to be quite good, and I noticed it's been on sale a lot recently, so maybe I'll have to finally pull the trigger on that one. Um, yeah, I've seen some videos. It looks pretty awesome. I actually got back into Grim Dawn recently. Um, I was a big fan of Diablo 1 and 2. Grim Dawn's been scratching that itch. And I ran through it once or twice, and for some reason I stopped playing it. I don't remember why exactly, but um, yeah. So the plan for today, while this gets up and running, is I'm basically, I'm open for suggestions on how you guys want to do these labs because I still think I would like to have Vorion. That sounds familiar. Is it an old one? Vorion. Hmm, interesting. That looks pretty cool. Oh, okay. Right. So basically, I'm going to try to run through this lab for you all to show you um, basically how I would do it. I mean, Shreyash, if you want to hop in whenever you want. So basically, what I do is I idle in there. So if you want to just hop in and ask questions, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, like I will just kind of I'll stream while I do the lab, and then I'll hop in the voice chat afterward, or I'll be in the voice chat afterwards. So my plan is to basically be here for um, the normal class period and then answer any questions you guys have, kind of like a normal one would be. All right, so what I did here was I spun up a new Windows Server instance, and I made sure to shut the other one down so that I'm not using it. You don't have to. what you're doing in this lab is installing IIS. You're installing SQL Server. And if you already have either of those installed, you could either run through the lab again on a fresh VM, or you could set up basically you could follow through the lab where, putting the screenshots where you need. So if you, for instance, already have this all set up and you've already done an IIS and SQL Server install, this is my lovely updating SQL Server 2016 to 2019 screenshot here. Basically, as long as you're able to have the forum software running, I'm happy. As long as you have all the correct screenshots in place, I'm happy. So I don't necessarily want you to mess up any existing installs that you have effectively. But the point of this lab really is to get a feel for how you would install and run a database server in Windows. It seemed like a good way to demonstrate that was with installing a wiki. So I would anticipate that this lab is going to be mostly us watching and waiting for things to install. So don't, sit and wait for me to finish. Feel free to just blast through the lab if you want. I mean, I'm sure it'll be like any other lab, right? Where, you either gonna just hang out and chat, or you're gonna work on it and get it done. It's really not all that hard, to be quite honest. So I will just walk through what I would do. And yeah, that'll be pretty much it. So I'm gonna install the web server, gonna add its features, gonna pick next. So we're gonna skip these features, but we might want a FTP server as well. So you guys, I think, did this at the beginning of the semester. I'm gonna go ahead and install that, and then I'm just gonna let it run. And while this is installing, I'm gonna just point this out again since I have still randomly gotten questions. Because a couple things you need to do in here to download software onto your server. So again, you can't by default in IE. So you need to go to Internet Options. I forgot to, oh, that's interesting. Changes my mouse cursor to be not as visible. Thank you, RDP. Yeah, so security and disable protected mode. And then go to our custom level and scroll down. And we want to enable file downloads. Yes. Make the computer insecure. Download us some Firefox. That's what we're getting to. All right, this is still chugging along. Okay. All right, so let's get us some Firefox. Now, again, you don't need to do this step if you'd rather just use Internet Explorer. I find it a little bit easier, personally. All right, so yeah, we need IIS. FTP is not strictly necessary, but it's helpful. And then I also am going to need to download SQL Server, and we're going to use the basic edition. It's still going. Yeah, there we go. IE, you can go away. Yeah, we're not going to do that. All right. Fortunately, copy and paste is a lot easier in here. So let's go ahead and install. I'm just going to kind of do things in parallel, so if anybody's getting lost, please let me know. important thing is have the web server get your screenshot of your home page. So this is going to be in the background here. Can we still get credit money? Yeah, so if you've run out of money for your VMs, just drop me an email. All right, so we've got IIS. Everything is good. I can pop back over here to my instance page. Again, remember we haven't set up a secured certificate, so just use HTTP. If you just click this link, it's either going to give you an error page or it's not going to do anything. So screenshot of this guy. Drop it in my lab manual. I'm not actually going to do that since I'm not the one being graded here. But we have our website, so life is good. Alternatively, you can do that inside of your VM too. So open up your browser, go to localhost, get the same thing. So if we go to localhost, oh, there's our page. Life is good so far. All right, so we want basic according to the lab manual. Basic is going to get us your standard installation. That's all we need for this install. I'm going to accept, install. I'm going to pretend like I read through all of that. This one takes a few minutes to run through. I should mention too, so let's see, it is, yeah. We have, our presentations are coming up pretty quick, guys. So looks like we've got one week, so in about 3 weeks, about. We'll probably intersperse some more labs in as well to round things out. So if you are one of the people in charge of your video lecture, your video presentation, please make sure you start getting used to the technology. I'm sure a lot of you already know how this works, but you don't want to be having issues on the day that your team is supposed to present. Might be easiest just to make a video and just send me the link and we can all watch it at the same time, if you're concerned about technical difficulties. Ooh, SQL Server 19 is now available for Linux. How cool. Could have all of the fun of... I wonder if this would work. You know, maybe I'll try screencasting that later. So what do you all do while you're waiting for stuff to install in class? I assume you think deeply about your term projects and talk about homework related things, right? Reddit. I appreciate your honesty. Sure, FBI van. The void always stares back. I'm sorry. It's just always there. All right, what else do we have to do while we're waiting for this? So we get our basic. So next thing we're going to do after this installs is to get the management studio up and running. So this is going to make interacting with SQL Server a lot easier. Handy little tool, but it's a separate download basically. So we're going to go ahead and install that once this one is all done. I already did this once or twice in the past couple weeks. I just kind of wanted to actually run through it live with you to show you, if anybody's getting stuck on anything. This could provide a nice little, backup in case if you're stuck. Does this when the more popular streamers would have a little game pop up on their screen for everybody to keep engaged? Scam train time. You guys are so cool. I just don't know all these terms. Started playing around with a procedural dungeon generator in Unity. Kind of fun. It's just, again, waiting for the installer to go in the background. A little chunky because it's, one, not optimized in the least, and two, also streaming at the same time. Do we have any options if we don't have a password for our server? Um, did you try resetting it? Yeah, so if you're running into a password issue, this little drop down next to RDP, you can set Windows password, and it'll give you a temporary password or a randomly generated one, and then you can either remember that or you can change it once you log in. So for instance, like in here, I could hit Control Alt Delete. I get a Control Alt Delete, change password. I did, so there are a couple of you, I think, that actually that command won't work. Um, I've asked the cloud support people, I haven't heard back. It might be easier to create a new virtual machine if you get like an error because, rebooting your machine, letting it sit for a little while. So basically some people are having the issue where there's this drop down, you click set Windows password and it returns an error instead of actually changing it. And this is after letting the machine sit for several minutes and letting it boot up and all that. So for those of you where that one's broken, so when you click that link, if it's not a part of your trusted sites, you either need to disable the security or accept the certificate. So that's what I did kind of at the beginning. Actually, let me, I'll wait for that to go. So that's in your internet options for IE. So you want to disable all the security settings because the SQL server will not actually let you. Crap, I didn't want that. SQL or Windows Server is not going to let you download anything with the default settings. Okay, so I'm going to pull down the Management Studio. I click to run an Internet Explorer like a fool. Any of you see that lovely post the other day about Edge being the leakiest browser in terms of data being sent out? That was a fun read. Come on, where'd you go? All right, Management Studio. It was the straight up Edge, the normal Microsoft Edge. Well, basically the issue was they were phoning home with a lot of personally identifying information. Um, they compared it to Chrome and Firefox. Firefox basically doesn't send anything that can identify you. Chrome also is a privacy suck for that, but they're not as bad, and Edge was the worst. It's an interesting article. I'll have to pull that up and see if I can find it. It did suffer from a bit of a clickbaity headline type thing, though. It was very scare tactic, click this link to read it kind of thing. All right. Yeah, once we get past the installation steps, it won't be as bad. We'll probably be able to cruise right through it. Because we're going to install this new Windows vulnerability. Haven't heard anything yet. As far as I'm aware, it's still active. The end of the article suggested that people turn off the Windows preview features in Explorer. All right, so once this is done, we're going to have to configure a couple things. So the forum software we're going to install is going to look for the SA account to log in as, and we're going to have to make a few tweaks to this one to make it, to enable it to actually log in. And I've tried in the past to get, I don't know if it's this particular forum software or uh, some of these installers in general, but it doesn't like other users being set up. So unless it's been fixed in recent days, I haven't been able to get it to work with anything other than SA. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to allow SA to be logged in remotely as. So now it's rebooting the machine. We'll wait for that to come back up. Usually it takes a minute or two. Not quite yet. Takes a wee bit longer to come back up. Hmm. Come on. Unless we got a new IP address. Yep, there we go. Riveting content. Did you all get outside and play in the snow yesterday? With 6 feet apart, of course. All right. So, bring up the management studio here. So, management studio is going to be in the start menu. It's not in your server manager, as far as I'm aware. Actually, let's verify that just to make sure that I'm not talking out of my you know what. Yeah, that's it. Oh, that's interesting. I curse less on stream than I do in class. All right. SQL Server Management Studio. It was under the quick access. It's further down if you want to look for it too. So we'll get this guy up and running. And then what we want to do is close out Spelunky because this is all done. Figured we'd be waiting longer. So we want to change the password of this account to something that we're going to know. It's got a default baked-in password, I think. It's either not set or it's something that's going to be difficult to remember. So I'm changing it to temp12345. You could change yours to something a little bit more complicated. We are also going to deselect enforcing the password policy and enabling the account. And then we're also going to allow the account to log in mixed mode. And what mixed mode is going to get for us is that it's going to be allowed to log in as a SQL Server account or a Windows account. And that's going to be required for the forum software. So, wow, this is taking forever to load. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like any other lab day, really. So if you don't want to sit on the stream and watch me talk about, the lab, you're more than welcome to just go work on it. Mainly, I'm just trying to be online for you all if you have questions or anything like that. Maybe show you some of the pitfalls. All right, so I'm just going to log in without changing any of the authentication here. Yes. It's raise hand. Close. All right, what's your question? Hello? Why are we not sending messages? Apparently I can't send messages to chat. It's redeem raise hand, but regardless, what's your question? Huh. I can't send messages, I'm not sure why. Cool. Well, I'm just gonna have to talk. All right, so I'm going to pop open the security listing here, then logins. And then here we see SA. We also see this little red X next to it. So we want that little red X to go away. Yeah, I don't really want to kill the chat though, or kill the stream, so I'll just go on with talking. I don't really need to type anything anyway. Thank you. So, properties. And then password we're going to change right here. So I'm just going to do temp12345, temp12345, click off enforce. Then I'm going to go down to status, enable the account. And then the other one was, all right, so password enabled, okay. Then I'm going to click the server up here, and I'm going to right click, I'm going to change its properties. And what we want, just looking back and forth to my lab manual, we want security and then we want mixed mode. So security, this one. So mixed mode. It doesn't say mixed mode, but it's SQL Server and Windows off mode. Okay. It's going to ask us to restart the server. So I'm going to right click on it and restart. Yeah, thank you guys. I was hoping that my stream was addressing that too, so for some reason I'm gonna have to relog in. That's all right. Maybe let's go ahead and message in here. right. Doing what I can. Honestly, this is kind of fun. I mean, to me, it's just like teaching a normal class, so it's good. All right, so we've got our mixed mode set. And then the other thing that we're going to install is the web platform installer. So we're not really going to be touching SQL Server anymore. We're going to allow this tool to do the work for us. So I'm going to copy this link, and I'm going to close my management window because I've set all the properties I need. Pop open Firefox. Don't feel like going through the settings, so we're just going to... All right, and now we're going to install this extension. Save file. Oh, I'm trying to type in the chat. Ella, if you add the site as a trusted site, it's not going to work. You have to disable protected mode and enable file downloads. You did this. Why am I doing this again? All right, recursive window. I'm just trying to show the chat here. Honestly, if you're struggling with downloading things in IE, if you can at least enable the downloads, download something like Chrome or Firefox instead. Life's going to be a little bit easier. You don't have to worry about trusted sites and all that. But again, that's in Internet Options and then in the security settings, and you have to click Custom Level. All right, so now we've got the web platform installer. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. Yes. That's going to kick off. So we're going to click the Applications tab, click Forum, and then we're going to install yet another forum. So this is just going to install forum software on your server. Normally, you'd have to download the package. You would have to make sure that it runs in your particular version of .NET. The web platform installer is going to make life a little bit easier for you. All right, so here's the installer. We looked at this a little bit earlier on in the class. But applications, forums, you also see there's a ton of other stuff on here, like CMSs, so content management systems. These are all in here. We went forums, and then we want yet another forum.net. Add. Install. All right, so we are going to leave it as SQL Server. And now it's asking for what your admin account password is. All right. I'm just going to click I accept. Awesome. Glad it's working now. And I mean, this stream will go up too on Moodle and YouTube as well if you get stuck with any of the steps. I'm trying to go slow-ish with my clicking, but if any of it's not clear, please let me know. All right, this one was going to take a little while. How's everybody doing with the term project and it being online now? Anything I can any like roadblocks I can help with? Fast CPUs, please. I'll see what I can do. I've heard you can download more RAM off the internet. That was a terrible attempt at humor. Yes! See, when I say it, I just sound like somebody who's completely out of touch. I'm getting some really weird feedback right now. I'm not sure if it's me or my headphones, but Crisis 1, maybe. Alright, this is gonna take a few minutes. Yeah, let's see if we can get this to work. Downloadmoreram.com. I'm not actually going to do this right now while you guys are running your lab. I'm just kind of curious to see what the responsiveness is for the display capture. Yes, I am one of those heathens that plays in window or non-full screen. That doesn't look too bad. You. Hey, I gotta tab back and forth to make sure my homework's getting done. I go in full screen, it's not all that great. Not bad. It's a very gruesome game, I've come to realize. If you read any of the lore that's going on in the background. Yeah. Still going. We'll save that one for later. Okay, taking longer than it did yesterday when I tried to run this. It actually kind of blazed through it. Basically what it's going to do is it's installing also all the components that we need. Nice. I never played any of the Gears of War games. Heard they were quite good. Right, we're gonna let this go. What else are we gonna have to do here? So yeah, there's going to be a couple of gotchas with the software. So we're going to install it, we're going to configure it, we're going to leave all the defaults, except we're going to rename them. We're going to see a whole bunch of error messages that we're going to have to work through. Yeah, you got a question. Not even going to attempt pronouncing that name. On consumer grade Windows. That's a good question. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm kind of curious now. I think if you can install IIS, it should work. I mean, I don't see why not. Because you can install IIS without needing Windows Server. I'm not sure. I want to say Pro is better than Educate. I thought there's a difference. I don't remember what it is. I know there is something. Oh my god, I'm not participating in your community. Yeah, it's looking like licensing based on random forum posts. All right. Oh, we're done. Cool. All right, so the installer finished. And now we're at this page here. So I'm just going to call it YAF to make referencing it a little bit easier. You see that the URL changes for the site. I can click continue. I'm going to type in my forum configuration password, so just something you'll remember. Minimum 8 characters. All right, and then it will finish up. We'll get into the fun parts. So as it's installing, it's creating its own application pool. All of those different aspects of IIS that each site gets. So, virtual directory, all that fun stuff. No, I don't. Nobody wants Windows Home. Yeah. Licensing. Okay, it is all done. So we have installed our software here. We get this lovely configuration error. This is what you will see if you have any kind of a problem with your IIS website. It's very, very ugly, but you do get some debugging information for you. And what we have to do here is a couple of things. So first we have to make the .NET version 4.0. By default, all sites are started off, I believe, with 2.5 or 3.5. But we go to Tools, we go to IIS Manager, pop open our site, default website. Actually, no, we want to do the application pool, not the site. My bad. So YAF gets its own application pool. So we're going to go ahead and right click on that. We are going to its basic settings. So it's set for .NET 2.0. So the .NET COR version v2.0. Change that to 4. Okay. Let's restart our site. It's the default website again, so it's not in the right click menu, it's over here. Restart. Alrighty. And refresh. Go away. Internet Explorer. Localhost / YAF. All right, different error. So a little bit nicer in terms of how it looks, but we still have a problem. What we need are some ASP.NET 4.7 features, basically. So we're going to go back to the role page. We're going to expand the web server role, and we're going to add in some extra things that weren't there by default. So what we're going to do here, let's go over to our manage and add roles and features. Next, next, next. Basically, these things should be installed by default for ASP.NET sites, but they are not. Yeah, I got another question. Ask away. Over library-based solutions, can you give me an example of a library-based solution? I guess some kind of... Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by library. So that's more of a local database. So local databases tend to be less feature rich in terms of what they can do. SQL Server, MySQL scales a lot nicer. SQLite you would generally see also on like a device too. So you would usually use it for a smaller application. Um, yeah, that's how I would view it anyway. So expanding web server, we are expanding, was it under? Everything related to .NET 4.7. Yep. So application development, we need .NET Extensibility 4.7, ASP.NET 4.7, and I think that is actually it. And expand all the other ones just to make sure. Nothing 4.7, nope, all good. It's basically just under this application development because we're running a custom web app here. Gonna click install, so we're adding these two extra aspects of the web server role. And then once it's done installing, we have to restart our website again. Again, it's like any other service where if you change its configuration, you have to restart it in order for things to take effect. Just here, we're not restarting all of IIS, we're restarting basically the site. All right, all done. So go back to our sites. Let's go ahead and restart it. It's on the right, it's not in the right click. All right, and let's restart. It's gonna take a little bit longer to load now. I apologize for all the sniffling. My allergies have decided to kick in right at this lovely time of self-quarantine. All right, so we have our installation page. So if you get to this point, life is good. No, I have not had a corona today. All right, so let's go ahead and install. We're going to let it test its permissions. It should be fine. If you give it the SA role, everything is okay there. We're going to use all the default connections. You can test it if you'd like, but the connection succeeds. And then it's going to ask you, I think we can actually ignore this part. Corona time. There's much better beer out there than Corona. And that is just about it, honestly, once it's done installing. So let's call it EFnet, sure, just to take over the IRC channel, e@f.com. This is at localhost/YAF. Call it super user s@user.com. All right, and there we go. So we have a forum. And then you are more than welcome to modify it to your heart's content. That this is what internet interaction looked like in the 2000s and the 90s. We had forums. It's much more interesting, I think. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of at least the lab manual. So you have, by the end of the lab, installed IIS, installed SQL Server, added the tools, downloaded the web platform installer, installed a forum, and then dinked around with the .NET version. Yeah, every website had a forum. They were good times. I think Something Awful forums are still up and running. I haven't been there in ages. But that is pretty much it. So make sure all your screenshots are in here. Got a handful of questions for you, and life should be good. So other than that, does anybody have any questions on any of the technical side of things? All right, so then I will just idle and chat for the rest of the next hour, basically, if anybody has any questions. It depends. So the install, if the cloud servers are running quickly, they'll install fairly quickly. Um, if things are chugging along, it'll go a little bit slower, but I mean, it took us about 50 minutes here to get everything installed, just mainly waiting. So, you know, make a cup of coffee, crack open a Corona, crack open something better than a Corona. And yeah, shouldn't be too bad. Anyway, I will be in the voice chat if y'all need me. So thanks for keeping on this here. So, all right, sorry, one more question here. So the VMware login, it's just your username. So like mine would be just Frederick's, but it's what you would use to log into the SCCS computers. So, all right, so let's end soon.